Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Henry A. Nash, the founder and the author of the book Integrity Does Matter, which talks about living a life above reproach. And we're coming to you once again with another segment of our Integrity Inspirations. During my last segment of Integrity Inspirations, when we talked about seeing what God is saying, I said I was going to bring a special guest in with me during this segment that we're recording on today. So I want to introduce to you a good friend, a good confidant, a close colleague of mine who plays a vital role in Integrity Does Matter. It's Mr. James Dixon. So he's going to join us on today as we expound and talk a little bit more about what it means to live a life of integrity and what it means to live a life above reproach. So, Mr. Dixon, you would like to say something to the viewing audience, sir?
Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to an exciting time talking about Integrity Does Matter today.
Amen. Okay. So we're glad to have you here on today. So during our last segment, we talked about seeing what God is saying. And when I ended that last segment, I said I have 4 questions that we was going to talk about in this segment on today. So what we're going to do on today, we're going to make it a 2-part segment. We're going to talk about 2 of the questions that we had left talking about on the last segment, and then we're going to do another segment of the remaining 2. So and just to bring y'all up to speed and bring y'all to remembrance of what we had talked about, these 4 questions, they're very, very vital. And when it comes to living a life of integrity, something to think about, something to ponder on, something to consider. And one of those questions, the very first one we're going to talk about on tonight with Integrity Does Matter is this, what will be the end result of my decision if I choose to pursue it to its end? Think about that. What would be the end result of my decision if I choose to pursue it till its end? And we're talking about living a life of integrity, which is living a life above reproach. So check this out. It is through the inspiration of the Spirit of God that we are identified as being His people. But many people are inspired by many things in life, and those are the things that many people want to aspire to ascertain to, such as, they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, or whatever the case may be, and those decisions tend to guide them and lead them in the direction that they want to go. And in one's inspiration to pursue after all of these aspirations, watch this, one would do well not to throw caution to the wind, because every choice that we make, it has a consequence that comes with it. Listen to this. If we take the time to stop and look at the bigger picture of our situations instead of the snapshot of what we see, we allow integrity to keep and preserve us so that we can receive the results that are not only beneficial to us, but also to God as well. Many times we can't get past what we see because we cannot see beyond our sea level. And because of that, we tend to see the snapshot of what's in front of us instead of seeing the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish or achieve. But when we take the time to pause and reflect and try to look at the bigger picture or the bigger scope of what we're trying to achieve, what it does, it teaches us how to slow down, and it teaches us how to settle down and how to still down, and also to examine and see what the end result of that choice will be should you decide to pursue it to its end. Mr. Dixon and I was talking about this not too long ago, and I want to allow him to share his points on what he thinks about that also as well. What do you think, James?
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
What I was thinking is I'll just use a personal scenario that people may be able to relate to in reference to what you just said. And what I found is that, let's just take a family, okay? We know the family is not just one person. It may be, a husband and a wife and some children. Let's just say that's the family. And that unit has to work as a unit in order for those in the unit to be able to work in the unit.
That's good.
So what I'm saying is
That's
this,
good.
and I'll just speak from a personal reference. And when I read this and when I start thinking about it, not just what we're talking about today, because this is in our book. And so I begin to ponder on it, and this is how it helped me.
Okay.
I'll just speak for James, how it helped me, Henry. Okay. And that's this. I had to stop and think about my wife's perspective, my daughter's perspective, and let me interject this while I'm thinking about it. I may see a W. She may see an M.
Okay.
We're looking from two sides.
Good.
Her snapshot
That's
is
good.
one side.
That's good.
My snapshot is another side.
That's good.
Who's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
No, either one of us is not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to take the time. You're talking about the bigger picture, right?
Correct.
I have to take the time, get on her side.
Okay.
Now, she sees an M.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now I see the M.
Mm-hmm.
She come on my side, I see a W.
Mm-hmm.
Now she sees a W.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're functioning as a unit because now we have a picture of the bigger picture
Okay.
and not just a snapshot.
Okay.
Okay? I see a 6. She sees a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you get where I'm going with this?
Correct.
And just for the sake of time, so now this is how we get an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very important that we see things not only through our eyes. And I noticed you mentioned sea level.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way for a child to see from a parent's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. But it is possible for the parent to see from the child's perspective.
Correct. Correct.
So, being that the parent can see from the child's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
me being the parent, my children being the child
Mm-hmm.
or the children,
Yeah.
I have to know and understand that it's important for me
Mm-hmm.
to be patient and help them understand, first of all, that we're looking from two different perspectives.
Correct.
I can't expect them to see from my perspective,
Correct.
but I can help them to understand that I can see from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I do that, they're willing to allow me to expound, explain, communicate, and share with them from my perspective.
That's good.
And so
That's good.
that's what I get excited about
Mhm.
when I was reading and thinking about it, because many a times, in the old days, they say, because I said so.
Mm-hmm.
And that was okay, when it applied, and, it may keep you from getting in a situation or whatever. But that didn't do nothing for the understanding.
Yeah, that's good. Because, and I concur with what you're saying, because many times when it comes to certain things, we tend to deal with it on the surface matter.
Yes, sir.
But, and a lot of stuff that we have to deal with, it begins internally. It begins internally.
Mhm.
And because of that, that's what integrity, we always say this, integrity is an inside job.
Yes, sir.
It's an inside
It's
job.
an inside
job. It does its work on the inside,
Yes,
and then
sir.
it manifests or works
Yes,
itself
sir.
outwardly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we always say also that integrity is not just a standard.
It is the
It is
standard.
the standard.
Yes, sir.
It is the standard. And see, standards are very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to living a life of integrity. You must have some type of standard to guide you, and you must have some type of standard to govern you in regards to how you live your life, because people are looking at you. They're listening to you. What are they hearing? What are they seeing when they see you? When they see you do certain things, or they hear you say certain things? It's vitally important that we learn how to examine ourselves, as the scripture tells us, to see if we do be of the faith. And I'll even go further to say this: we should examine ourselves to see if we be people of integrity. It's very important. Watch this. I want to give you the definition, 3 different definitions of the word identification, because the identification, it's a noun. It's a noun. And in the noun definition, it's defined as this: it's an act of identifying a state or being identified. You get that? It's an act of identifying or a state of being identified. That's in the noun definition. Now, sociologically, this is what identification means. It means as acceptance as one's own values or interests of a social group. You get that? Acceptance as one's own values or interests of a social group. And physiologically, psychologically also as well, it is defined as a process by which one ascribes to oneself the qualities and characteristics of another person. So each one of those definitions in their own right ascribes the importance of how identification works in the lives of others. So whether it be personally, whether it be sociologically, or even if it be psychologically, we are all identified in some form or fashion. So we need to know and recognize what our identification is, what identifies us. Does integrity identify you as a person that lives a life above reproach? And we're going to talk about that. So what we're going to talk about now is having the right identification. This one here is going to be real good. Having the right identification. And the antithesis of that is that it's quite possible for one to have the wrong identification. Would you agree? So listen to this. Having the right identification is vital and is necessary. We want to be known for being a person that lives a life of integrity. It is not enough, watch this, to talk about integrity to others if you don't live by it. It's very important that we understand that. The right identification will allow us to have access, watch this, into the right places that we need to go. The right places we need to go. And if we have either the wrong identification or no identification at all, we run the risk of being rejected or denied entry into a place where we know that we're supposed to be at that appointed time. How about you, John? Have you ever been in a place where you didn't have your identification and you wanted to get access to a place and you just couldn't get there because you had the wrong identification?
Yes, sir. And I've also been in a situation to where I have had an identification.
Okay.
That was the wrong identification, and it was not accepted for what I was trying to get access to.
Okay. Okay.
They say that's fine. We know that's you, but that one is no longer accepted here.
Okay.
I say, well, why is that so? They say because that's not the level of identification we're looking for what you're asking us to give you access to.
So is it possible then to have the right identification based on appearance, but the identification you have won't allow you access because it could be outdated?
Meaning, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's outdated.
So integrity is never outdated then, correct?
No, sir. No,
It
sir.
it's never outdated.
Never outdated.
So integrity will allow us access into places that other things cannot get us into.
Yes, sir. You just said something. I went to get us some information to, our account, and we will have our account in, and I was trying to access some information, and this is what the lady told me. She said, this identification won't work, and she said, I just need you to look into the camera a little bit more clearer. And so I was riding with an Uber, so I put my head to the window where she could see me. She said, okay, Mr. Dixon, I just want to identify and make sure that is you.
Okay.
I said, well, thank you.
Okay.
She said, so we're going to waive the identification this time because we know it's you.
Okay.
And we have proof. If I play this back in the camera, if anybody asks, I can show them. I said, okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that it wasn't necessarily because it was my face, but it was because she know my character.
That's good.
And by identifying me, she was not necessarily identifying me, the flesh, but she was identifying me, the person that she knows would operate under standard of integrity.
That's good. That's good.
So, and that helped me. And she said, okay now. And so this is what I did. When I got home and got in my vehicle, I took it out and put it in my pocket.
Okay.
So I could do that and have both. And she said, okay, this is great. No problem. And I told her, I called back when I got home. I said, I wanted to thank you because this was really important to me. So on the lines of what you're saying, integrity doesn't lose its identity.
Right.
And it helped me to get what I really needed.
Right.
And I was running out of time to access what I need to access.
Right. So integrity should be an identification that we should take with us everywhere we go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it does not matter where we go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it will allow us access into certain places that we need to go.
Yes, sir.
So that's why it's important. That's why it's important to examine how we live our lives. And to be mindful that the things that we say and the things that we do identify whether we are people of integrity. It's very, very important. Listen to this. When our identification is defined by the inspiration of the Spirit of God, our integrity will be visibly seen by others based on, watch this, how we live our lives. Y'all heard us say it all the time. How you live your life says more about you than you can ever say about yourself. That's our mantra, and that's what we believe. Identification by inspiration also speaks that the life that you are now living is not a life of, watch that, of selfish service, but it's a life of selfless service, because there's a discernible difference between the two. You are willing to give of yourself to others unselfishly by going the second mile and not expecting anything in return. I'm a strong advocate, and I truly believe that when it comes to leadership, one cannot lead others effectively without being a person of integrity. It's quite possible to lead people without integrity, but in order for you to effectively lead people, you must be a person that's being led under the auspices of integrity. Mr. Dixon and I, we talk about this all the time, about how we should examine ourselves, how we should always be mindful of how we do things, the things that we say to others, and things of that nature. Very, very important when it comes to that. You remember we talked about that not too long ago?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I do, very vividly.
Yeah.
And I'll expound on that if you allow me. I remember that because I had said something to you about my daughter, or one of my children, that I wasn't pleased about their character. And you asked me a question. You say, well, would you rather them do it this way or do it like that? And I thought about that. And I began to ponder and think about it. And I took that with me, and I said, you know what? There's a better way. I can communicate to her. And this is what came to me. Let integrity lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was leading.
Yeah.
But this is what I learned.
Yeah.
When I was leading, integrity was not following.
Okay.
And that's what I've learned. If you don't let integrity lead, integrity will not follow.
That's good.
I don't care where you go.
That's good.
If you don't allow integrity to lead, integrity will not follow. Integrity is not a follower.
That's good.
Integrity is a person of the Holy Spirit, and he is a leader
He's
and
a
a
leader.
guide.
Yes, sir.
How can someone guide you if you lead?
Yeah. And how can someone lead you if you're not willing to follow?
You're not willing to
You
follow.
must be
You're in
willing
a
to
foreign
follow.
land.
And I can't even begin to expound enough on how many times I had to take the second place and allow integrity to lead me and to guide me in certain things when it comes to the words that I speak or the actions that I take. You know, many people talk about taking the high road, you know, but I like to liken integrity as taking the low road of humility. And when you take the low road of humility, you allow integrity to take the lead, and integrity will lead you and guide you, not just in any way, but it will lead you and guide you in the right and proper way. Listen to this. Identification by inspiration helps us to be known as a people, watch this, who are loyal, or people who are trustworthy, or people who are of sound and moral principle when we live a life of integrity. I believe that people really not only just listen to what we say, but they also watch what we do. And if our conversation and our conduct are not in alignment and in an agreement, then our integrity will always be in question. Because see, integrity is the heart of character. And one of the things we must never ever do, we must always never lose that. And I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn, to put up what I call healthy boundaries when it comes to being living a life of integrity and doing what it is required to do when it comes to that. See, what healthy boundaries do, they help keep you in a safe place. They help keep you in a safe place so that you will not end up acting out of character and doing something you know that you should not do. And healthy boundaries also keep you in a safe place in the sense that it will not allow anything or anyone to come in and violate that space or that place that you have where integrity abides in you. Healthy boundaries. We talked about that many a time,
yes, sir.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes, sir. I was reminded when you talk about healthy boundaries, I think I was maybe 21 or 22, and that was, it was a couple years back, and my father and I, we were the family, my dad and my brothers, we were doing some demolishing, and our church at that time, they were tearing down to rebuild, and I was excited, young, hot-headed, thought I knew what I was doing, and they had a 18-wheeler, a big dump truck. And somebody told me, they say, don't bag the truck up too far, too close to the building.
Okay.
And I said, I can drive this truck, and I could. And I bagged the truck up, and they say, that's it, stop. I said, I can get a little closer. And I backed into the building. And damaged the building, and almost caused everybody I put everybody in danger.
Ah.
And I was thinking about that. How if I just had operated and listened to what I was told to do, that was a healthy boundary.
Good.
But I exceeded that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And once I exceeded it, it no longer became a boundary,
Mm-hmm.
a healthy boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Now it becomes a danger.
That's good. That's good.
Now my healthy boundary, because I didn't value it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand. I took it as they're telling me what I can't do, but they're telling me what's healthy for us, for everybody. And that's what healthy boundaries do.
That's good. That's good.
That's a good point.
That's good. Yeah, because what they do, they also cause you to pause and they cause you to reflect and ask yourself, what will be the end result of this choice or this decision that I make? You know, if I make it, because it's bigger than me when you
Yes,
really
sir.
stop and think about it. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. Listen to this. Listen to this. Keeping the end result of our choices before us will help us shield us from the headache and the heartache that comes from moving headlong into making decisions that not only affect
that's
ourselves
good.
but also others. So, which takes us to our next point.
That's
We're going to
good,
talk
brother.
about our second point. The second point we want to talk about this evening is, who else will my decision affect besides me? My. Who else will my decisions affect besides me? We can't even begin to expound or stress enough on how this profound principle should be one of the guiding and the directing forces in our lives if we want to live a life of integrity. And see, many times we don't take the time to pause. We don't take the time to reflect in our day-to-day decisions. When we make decisions, who else will they affect besides me? Because it's very important that we understand that there are other people who are connected to us consciously, and there are people that are connected to us
That's serious,
subconsciously.
bro.
It's that serious,
That
yes,
is
sir.
serious.
It's serious. And when you think
Wow,
like
that's
that,
something to think about.
yes, and you take yourself out of the way, and you put others before you, and you're mindful of the actions and the things that you say and do affect them. Would you not say? Would you not say?
Yes, sir. That's very, very important. That's good. That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That means that I just can't be thinking about me.
Mm-hmm.
It affects everybody and everything that's connected to me, whether I know it or not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
whether I can see it or not,
Mm-hmm.
because the law of reciprocity is a principle.
Mm-hmm.
It's already established,
Mm-hmm.
whether I heed or not.
Okay.
So, you said something earlier. In this, we have to practice and be selfless.
Correct.
So that's what I'm getting out of what you're saying. It's not about me. Now that I'm learning and I've learned how to, every action I take now, I have to take into consideration my whole family.
Mm-hmm.
Not just my wife,
Mm-hmm.
but my children,
Yeah.
my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And now it's got to where it's gotten good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm excited about, I even think about my great-grandchildren that are not even here yet.
That's good.
And
Generation.
my generations.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah.
That's what David was saying.
Mm-hmm.
My integrity will preserve me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine integrity.
Yeah.
And so what I'm beginning to think about is, now every action I take, one day, our children are going to say, Grandpa Nash and Grandpa Dixon,
Mm-hmm.
they talked about integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking this as some groundwork
Yeah.
for us, for families.
Mhm.
And if you're out there listening, this is for you. Don't just think about yourself.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to step out, watch this, on integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity, it can be the ground that will hold you.
Yeah.
It's stable.
Yeah.
Once you step out on integrity,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, it will not let you fall or fail.
That's good. That's good.
Integrity can support you if you let it.
That's good.
If you let it.
That's good. That's good. Watch this. You can confess what you need to change, but you cannot correct what you're not willing to confront.
That's good.
Remember that.
That's good.
You can confess what you need to change, but you cannot correct what you're not willing to confront.
Wow.
To live a life of integrity is to live a bold life,
Woo.
a courageous life,
My goodness.
a life of uncompromise, that you will not compromise or lay down what you know to believe is right for the sake of trying to please yourself or even others. It's important that we understand that.
But I might lose my friends.
Well, were they really friends if you lost them?
Well,
These are
that's
things that we
another
got to
point.
think about, you know. Sometimes integrity is the loss of a friend.
But I want to fit in.
Huh?
I don't want to be different. I don't want to be the oddball.
Yeah.
I want to fit in. So you telling me that I might have to do that?
It's quite possible.
Wow.
Because, see, at the end of the day, it's not about who's right. It's about what's right.
Wow.
And integrity is always right.
Wow.
It's right all by itself. It's just like the truth. And Mr. Dixon shared this with me not too long ago. I'll never forget this. He said integrity is an eternal principle. Integrity transcends time. Integrity will always remain. And because of that, why should we not want to live our lives governed by something that is timeless, something that transcends time, something that will always remain? Integrity will always remain. Let's leave you with these 3 questions. Listen to this. This is questions I want you to think about. Why should others have to suffer because of an unwise decision that we choose to make? Why? When you live a selfless life, you tend to ponder on that. The next question I want to ask you is this. Consider this one. Is it fair to them? Is it fair to them that they should have to suffer because of an unwise decision that you choose to make? And the third point I want to leave you with is, should we allow selfishness to influence us to make a decision solely because we believe that we're the only ones that's involved?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Luke chapter 12 verse 48 tells us this. It says, to him whom much is given, much is required. If you want to live a life of integrity, much more will be required of you, because integrity is a standard that you're expected to live by. And the weightier the responsibility is in our lives, the greater the influence that we can have in the lives of others when we live a life of integrity. Therefore, we cannot be casual, and we cannot even be common when it comes to our approach, when it comes to our day-to-day and moment-to-moment decisions that we make on a daily basis. Because integrity does matter. It does matter. So, James, would you have something you'd like to share before we close this session out? It's been a good one. It's
Yes,
been really
sir.
good. Yes, go ahead.
Time goes so fast when you're having fun.
Yes, sir.
We just hope that this is really helping someone. And if you're watching this video, we're not just here to speak these words. We're here to hopefully make an impact. You may be at the crossroad, and I share this with you for the sake of time. You may be dealing with some things in your marriage, in your family, you may be a young teen, or you may be, leading a group of people. Just keep this in mind, that it's about integrity. And we're here to affirm to you that it's worth it to live a life, I guarantee you, of integrity.
We want to thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in with us today for this segment of Integrity Inspirations. And we want to encourage you to tune in to our next segment, where we're going to be talking about on our other 2 principles of living a life of integrity, which are, let me share with you, you have them. Number 3, is it really worth it? Think about that. The next time you get ready to make a decision or a choice, before you go headlong into it, ask yourself, is it really worth it? We're going to talk about that in the next one. And then also what we're going to talk about is number 4, will my decision give God all of the glory that he deserves out of my life? You don't want to miss this
You don't want to miss it.
You do not want to miss it,
my friend.
You don't want to miss it. And before we leave, we want to remind you to go to our website at integritydoesmatter.com and pick up a copy of our book, Integrity Does Matter, which talks about living a life above reproach. And also, we have a workbook that we created also as well to go along with our book. It's a complimentary workbook that's comprised of 9 lessons, and all of the lessons are tangent to they're tangent and they're complementary to the book Integrity Does Matter. You would love it. You can either use it for single or you can use it for group sessions. So visit our website at integritydoesmatter.com. And if you would like to get in touch with us and talk to us about integrity or talk a little bit about this segment, whatever, please feel free to email us at integritydoesmatter@mail.com. And you can also write us at Post Office Box 2655, Hawker Heights, Texas, and the zip code is 76548, or we can be reached at our toll-free number at 1-877-831-6197. And all of you out there who are on social media, visit our social media sites, Facebook, Integrity Does Matter. We're on Instagram, Integrity Does Matter. And we're also subscribed to our YouTube channel, Integrity Does Matter. And we're also on Twitter, Integrity Life 07. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so very much for tuning in for another Integrity Inspiration segment. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your love and all the support that you have been giving us these past few years. And before we leave, we always like to say, how you live your life says more about you than you could ever say about yourself. Why? Because integrity does matter.